What is going on, my game design gurus, and welcome to the Level Design Lobby. Hey guys and girls, I hope you are well and you're enjoying yourselves while you're listening to the Level Design Lobby. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears. So if I sound a bit nasally, it's because I'm a little bit ill, just gotten over the hump of it. See, I'll put the cough in there to make you feel sad for me. I'm pretty dramatic. I don't think that's a good thing to say. Anyway, I hope you are all well and truly enjoying yourselves. So you're joining me today, and I'm going to be talking about Splatoon 2. And more specifically about Splatoon 2, how it encourages movement in their gameplay with their death matches. What I mean by this, well, actually, before we do that, let's describe what Splatoon 2 is. Some of you may have played it, some of you may not have. For me, this is the first Splatoon, man, that is a tongue twister, that I have played. As some of you know, because you've either read my articles or you've heard me mention it 1,000 times in the podcast, I have bought a Nintendo Switch. And I love it, and one of the games I got in the bundle for it was Splatoon 2. And as I said, this is the first Splatoon that I'd played, so I thought it looked good, the reviews were great, and then I saw this one, it came in the bundle, and again, very good scores overall, generally about an 83-85 on Metacritic and other reviewers. Really, what I was thinking about with this is, I bought the Switch for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's the main reason that I bought it. And then I got this with it, and I still play it today. It's got me really into competitive play, this and Overwatch. So it is a great game if you do own a Switch and do not own it. I would recommend it. Or if you're looking for something, because I had a friend who was interested in getting his kids into Overwatch, and they're about 10 to 12. And I recommend Splatoon instead, mainly because Overwatch's toxic community is quite bad. There isn't really that backlash here, and I think it's more appealing to the age range. In my opinion, I'm not a dad, so I wouldn't know in terms. And if you do let your kids play Overwatch still, that's fine. I'm not here to judge. That's me just suggesting it to my friend. Anyway, that is a very long way to get onto the topic of what is Splatoon really. So Splatoon really is it's a multiplayer game primarily. They do have a short campaign in there, which has some cool and creative levels from my perspective. Maybe another episode I will talk about actually their level design in their single player. But generally Splatoon is about this is the normal play mode, this isn't into the ranked game system, but you are in a team of 4 against another team of 4, and you all have paint weapons, and the objective is to cover the level in the most amount in your colour of paint, covering the most of the level. So say you're in blue, the other team's in pink, and you guys will face each other, and whichever team, it could be blue for this example, have covered the level in their paint wins. Now I'll link down to a video below so you can see this. If you are watching this on YouTube, you'll see part of this anyway. So again, it's a really interesting one. Just before we move on to it, is that it's not really about killing enemies. You do get points, it works into the strategy of the game, but the main objective, and you could not kill any opponents if you chose not to, because you're focusing on covering the level. As I said, it's probably in your best interest to take out their numbers, so less time with them painting. And it's a really fun game. And I don't mean fun loosely, like, oh yeah, it's just fun. Like, it is a really brilliant experience. As I said, I keep jumping on every now and then, and I still have a great time. Level 10, I'm always in the top 2, baby. Oodie ooh. Humble brag. Anyway, so now that you've got a simple understanding about what Splatoon is, let's talk about the first way that encourages movement. Because movement is in every game, but it's how most games encourage you to move fast or slow in their gameplay modes. So let's take 2 examples. Doom is all about fast-paced action. It is about making the player constantly move and not take a breather. Because if you compare it to Call of Duty, when you get damaged, the screen starts to get covered in blood, and you have to hide behind an object before your health can regenerate, and then you can move again. So that is about slow-paced combat. It's about not making the player take a step outside or feel invincible. They have to slow themselves down, otherwise it could end up in your death. Doom, as I just mentioned earlier, is very different, very fast-paced. And the way they encourage that is through the way that you gain ammo or health abilities. You don't gain health by hiding behind cover. You have to do it by doing a gore melee attack. So once you snap open an enemy, that's quite a friendly sound for snapping open an enemy. But once you do that, you gain health. But if you are to kill an enemy and finish them off with your gun, then you will gain ammo. And it's this sort of cycle where you have to choose around it. There's a brilliant article on Gamma Sutra, which I'll link in the description below, talking about this and breaking down how the designers did this, because they did a fantastic job. So I wanted to do sort of a similar investigation with Splatoon as well, because like these two games, it has its own style of play. It really encourages movement. It doesn't want players to sit down and hide. To a degree, it can be used as that as a strategy, but you're going to lose turf because of this if you don't execute your moves well. So, let's get into how Splatoon 2 encourages movement. The first way it does this is through its actual objective. As I said, the main objective is to cover the map with your paint. That is the only goal. In most matches, there are some ranked matches where different things capture the flag, etc. But for the point that I'm going to give, it's about covering the paint, covering the area in your paint. And as I said, that's the main thing. And if you just stand still in one spot and just squirt that spot, it's not going to help you win. You have to move around the entire map in order for you to actually achieve the goal. To win the game, you have to move to as many corners of the map as possible, otherwise you will lose. So that's the first way, is the overall goal because of that. The next one I want to talk about is the strategies behind that goal. Now, in the map, you're generally broken off into this thirds. Your team's third, the other team's third, and then the middle ground, which is no man's land. In this, each team has time to build up the space to either cover their area and in mostly their paint, and then move to no man's land. Generally, that's not the best strategy. I've watched a few breakdowns on how to play the best in Splatoon 2 and seen that, because I really wanted to beat people. I have to get my backside handed to me multiple times. I've decided to do my research. What most people actually do is they don't spend a lot of time covering their third. They actually make just a path towards no man's land and conquer that, because they know when they die they'll respawn back into their third and then they'll repaint their third anyway. This is good because the reason people do this is because if you get a bit into two thirds, you're not having to make the second team catch up on you. So they may have spent time covering their third, but really what's going to happen now is that they're going to have to spend longer at a disadvantage competing with you for no man's land. So that's one strategy, which is battle for the no man's land. I've aptly named it. The second one we want to talk about is invading your enemy's turf. So as I said in just about the previous strategy, is that this is generally safe to you as the player, to you and your team, this third that is yours. So what some players do is they'll go past their third and no man's land and go straight to the opponent's third, because they're going to cover the opponent's third, again making them spend time regaining turf which should already be theirs, while you spend your time now taking over no man's land. Because if you keep pushing your enemy back, they're going to have to spend more time, like I said, regaining it, which makes them not on the offense but on the defense, which being on the defense in this game is often a sure sign that you are on the losing end. If you're having to defend, then you are at a real disadvantage in this game. It's all about the offense. So those are two strategies there for it already. There are some other sub-strategies because of this, but I just want to talk about these main ones. So one is the objective, The objective is to cover as much the map compared to your opponents. So that's firstly how they make you move, because you can't win if you can't win if you stand still. The second is the strategies, battling for no man's land in the center, the middle third, or sneaking onto enemy turf and putting them on the defensive. All of this encourages movement. Like I said, if you're defending, you are most likely losing at this game. So now that we've covered the objectives, let's move on to the mechanics. But before we move on to the mechanics, I want to give a huge thank you and a big shout out to my sponsor, Gamerborn. Gamerborn is a great place which sells merchandise, clothing merchandise that's game related. And if, like me, you enjoy showing that you are a gamer and you are passionate about video games and that you love them, Gamerborn is a great place to buy the merch. As you've probably seen on my Instagram or my Twitter, that I have been having a great time modeling them. The first one started off very nice, and then I went a bit crazy with it. But they have an amazing story behind how they started, with originally them making some clothes for their child in an Assassin's Creed kind of cloak, and then people asking, oh, where can they get it for their kids? And this is what created Gamerborn. It has merchandise for men, women, and for children as well, if you want to dress your child up and to let the world know that his parents are gamers and he or she will be a future gamer. They also have cool mugs, which are great for couples, with player 1 versus player 2, and then some other cool patterns there. I would recommend checking them out. I've got a couple of their stuff. I enjoy it, and it's great quality. It is a great place to go for this. And if you use the coupon code Level Design Lobby, which is one word, capital L, capital D, and capital L, there will be a link in the description below and the coupon code as well. Because if you buy from there, it also supports me and helps me deliver great content for all of you, which is the most important thing, is building this community. As I said, from episode 1 to this is the 16th episode, it's about building community, and luckily they're kind enough to sponsor me to help me do this through funding. So, Gamerborn, link in description below. And now, back to the mechanics. So, every game has mechanics. What makes a good and a great game stand out is how these mechanics tie into the overall objective and how they help players achieve this objective. And as I said, the objective is to move and paint the map. I must have said that 1,000 times now. You get the picture. So let's break down the mechanics and how these help players move as well. So the first one we're going to break is shapeshift. In the game, you have two forms. You're an inkling, and what that means is you are kind of a squid kid, and you can shapeshift from your human form to your form as an octopus, a squid, that sort of creature. And this is brilliant because each form has a true function. It has a pro and a con, which makes it so interesting. The two forms, as I said, is a human and a squid. The human form is used to shoot and cover the map with the paint. That is the primary purpose of this form, to paint everything. While the squid form is used to move around the map, because you are much faster in your squid form compared to your bipedal human form, which is brilliant because it's about tactics here, encouraging movement. Because if you want to move to the no man's land or back to base or to the enemy's third, then the best way to do it is in the squid form. And this is where things get genius, because, as I said, it's a faster form. But the only way that you actually move fast in the squid form is in your paint. If you are blue versus pink, as we said, if you are a squid in pink paint, or even in your human form, you move a lot slower. And because of this, it makes you have to switch out into your human form and to paint the area, so then you can move faster, allowing you to then start covering or exploring different areas in this in this map so you can paint it, which again is a super important thing because it is encouraging movement. You cannot move correctly in enemies' paint. You cannot move fast to take over the map if you are 1 in enemies' paint or 2 slower in your human form. If you want to be better, then you have to move, and they encourage that with having the secondary form, which again is genius. Now let's talk about another mechanic which ties into this, and that is ammo. Ammo in most games is a pickup. You get it from killing enemies, so walking over the body, or in dispensers, or found in crates somewhere. The ammo here is slightly different though. On the back of your human form, you'll see a canister, which is where all your paint is. Now, as I said, the point is to cover the map as much as possible. In order to do that, you will need ammo. And in order to move as fast as you can in your squid form, you will need ammo to paint that path. Now, actually, just going back to the 2 forms as well, because I think it's super important. The paint you have, now, it is to mainly cover the area. But as I said, if you were to be able to move fast all around the map, you need to be as squid form. And you can't do that unless your paint is covered all over the area. Sorry, I may have mentioned that previous, but I just really want to drill that home because that to me is genius. In order to move, you have to paint the map. In order to get to the places to paint, you need to move fast in squid form. It's a brilliant cycle there which helps increase movement. I just think that's a really, really smart move, and I just really, really like that. So if I said that twice, I'm sorry. So sorry, back to the ammo though. In the game, you will have multiple moves, such as your standard shooting with your gun, but also grenade. These require an amount of paint from your canister. The UI for this is really smart as well if you really like UI. It's got a nice canister on the back, but also a nice visual UI picture of a canister that pops up as well, which is really, really nice. And you cannot carry certain moves out if you don't have enough ammo for this. So you'll have a line on your canister, which is the amount you need to be above to throw a grenade. And if your canister's empty, you cannot shoot anymore. Now here's where the really smart thing also comes in. So in order to regain ammo, you have to go into your squid form and then be in your coloured paint, and this will recharge your ammo. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. I've just gone from visual perception, which I think is true. If someone actually knows this, please comment or tweet me to let me know if I'm right or wrong. But if you sit in the paint in your squid form, it will gradually go up. But if you start to actually move around in your squid form in the paint, the speed of you regaining your ammo actually increases, coming faster. Why would you not move? That's how you make players move. It's genius there. Because, as I said, you could sit there and camp if you wanted to and watch it tick up. But if you're actually swimming, and again, it goes up faster, then you're going to move. The players will move because of this. Now, as I said, this is just from visual perception. I believe I'm right. But again, if I'm wrong, please let me know. This all links to movement. If you want to be able to go take the objectives, you need more ammo. Or if you want to throw a grenade because it has a bigger AoE, then you'll need ammo. And to do that, you have to move in your squid form to get the ammo faster. Again, it's these details which make the players move, which make the players go around the level. It's brilliant. I think it's fantastic for doing that. And a really smart way is how they have tied these regular mechanics, ammo, to the actual overall objective, the overall feel of the game. It's slightly similar, but not bang on, to think of it like compare it to the reload mechanic in Gears of War, where it's tense, it's nitty-gritty, the lack of ammo could cost your life, and there's that reload bar. If you hit the button at the right time, then your character is able to reload and be faster for it. But if you get it at the wrong time, then they're going to be slower. And if you miss it completely, then you are really slow, which just puts you at a huge disadvantage of the game. Another comparison is the save system in Alien Isolation. How it tends to save because it takes a while for those lights to go out, showing that you've saved, building on that tension. And same with this. In order to get that ammo to do more damage, you have to move. And you have to move anyway, because you have to take over all the areas. Again, this is what we should all take away from this. How does it tie in with the overall objective? When you're making your game, when you think about those design pillars, what are those key ones? And how do all of your mechanics tie into them? Because if it doesn't, maybe that mechanic's not needed, because you should only focus on those core pillars, and doing so helps create a brilliant experience for the players. Now, we're going to move on to levels. But before we move on to levels, I'm actually going to give a shout out and a shameless self-plug to my Twitter. As many of you know, I have a Twitter account at MaxPairs, and this is where I communicate with many of you. And I get to have a great experience chatting with you because you guys recommend things to me. We have debates on design ideas, which is amazing. Like, these aren't arguments or heated debates. These are just nice debates where you guys and girls share your opinions with me or disagree with some of my thoughts, which again is brilliant because this is how we all learn from one another about building that community. So if you want a way to communicate with me, and the best way is Twitter at MaxPairs, please go follow me. Now we're going to move on to levels. I'm a level designer, so it'd be really silly of me not to talk about levels because they do this very smart with the levels in how they encourage players to move throughout them. As I said, we've talked about the objective, we've talked about how it's split into thirds, and how the player moves through it to gain ammo and using other mechanics. So let's break down the actual levels and what they do behind them. Like all levels, Splatoon 2, well, all shooter levels, they have vantage points. These sort of sniper nest, and they have sniper rifles, paint sniper rifles as well, which is the best place for players to shoot and get the best vantage point and range to cover the map. Now, like I said, all shooters have this, but it's the route to these which are brilliant. Because there's two ways you can reach it. The traditional one, which is just on foot, where you can climb up, go up ramps, jump upstairs, and then reach these vantage points. Which, okay, if you're an inexperienced player, that's not bad. You're getting the grips of it. However, not only is the movement speed something that's going to slow you down, but also compared to other players, it's going to. And you may be wondering, why, Max? And that's because of the squid mode. Because they allow the players to paint up these sniper nests so that players can jump into the squid form and ride up the paint onto these sniper nests. Which again is genius. Because if you want to get to these vantage points, the quickest way is to move the fastest way. Creating shortcut elements where it might not have been perceived as one. There's a brilliant level on a boat, which I use as a reference, and it's got this mast. But on this mast is this grating like ring around it that players can go through. And as I said, there's walking paths players can get to, but the players can also shoot up it and then just ride the paint up there. And the other smart thing about this is the paint goes through the platform around it. So not only can they shoot outwards, but they can shoot under them, allowing them to take more of the map because of this, which again is brilliant. But it's showing these amazing ways that the best way to get to these vantage points is to move, and not only just move, but move fast and allowing those shortcuts to it, which again is brilliant. And the second way it does this is shortcuts. Like most games, like Overwatch has many ways that you can move because it has different characters and different modes to move. Splatoon is no different. Obviously, you don't have as many characters and all the characters move the same, but it has its own way to make players move. again, going back to the boat level, there is this side path where you can see a giant gap which you cannot jump in either form, but there is a wall there. So if you shoot your paint across the wall, you can then jump to the wall and ride across to the other side, which again is brilliant because that can be used as a flanking point and also a quicker way to reach to that point than maybe walking all the way around. And again, it is encouraging movement and experimentation with these mechanics to allow you to win. And I think that's just genius, because it's these sort of small details saying not only in the mechanics but in the levels that are brilliant. It is encouraging players to move around their level with these shortcuts and vantage points in many ways, because it's up to the player to experiment. And when they experiment, they move faster, allowing them to reach places quicker. And again, it all just ties in really well. And some of these won't be noticed right away. Like, it took me a while to notice this. But once I started to notice these, the map started to open up in different ways, allowing me to gain different vantage points, thinking about, oh, there's this wall in my way, oh, I've got to go around, or it's just a visual blocker. No, it's an opportunity for you to move, to gain another amount of the map because of it. Because most people will just shoot at the floor as well on the levels. But the walls are also used to count in the percentage of map coverage as well. Again, I just think that's smart because of the fact that it's making you think and allowing you to have all these opportunities to move in many different ways. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed Splatoon 2, how it encourages movement. I actually wrote an article about this, in case you haven't seen it already. There will also be a link below towards that. For that, sorry, I don't know why. Stumbling there. It's a bit late when I'm recording this. But again, I just want to say thank you all for joining me. We had a really nice surge of people who recently joined me after 80 level were kind enough to recommend the podcast. So welcome. And to all of the people who have been following me for a while now, thank you. You've all been awesome, and it's truly been a great experience thus far. If you guys have any great games that you think encourage a certain play style or a way they open up the levels because of those play styles, let me know. Let me know why you think it's good, and I might pick up the game and do an episode on it, because again, this is all really cool and great for us to learn together. Thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and enjoy the rest of your morning, day, or evening. Or nighttime, depending, you might be a night bird. But anyway, I am babbling like a fool. Take care, guys and girls, and I'll see you all next time.